Today's read aloud is called Upsetting the Balance by David Fain. Now let's see if we can figure out what the author's key point or opinion is. How are acorns, squirrels, and hawks connected? They are links in a food chain. How are grass, cows, and the cheese we eat connected? They too are links in a food chain. And food chains are important to all living things. But what's a food chain? Picture it as a set of links. Each link is a plant or animal that becomes a meal for the next. All living things in a food chain, even people, depend on another link for food. Before I move on, let's see, can you find the key point in our story yet? Food chains are important to all living things. Now let's see as we continue reading what reasons we can find. Sometimes, though, the choices we make can cause trouble for plants, animals, and people too. Sometimes we end up breaking the food chain, or at least changing it. For many years, fishermen caught large sharks. They are at the top of a food chain and eat many things, including cow nose rays. In turn, the cow nose rays eat clams and other shellfish. Once this food chain was in balance, but then fishermen caught too many sharks. With fewer sharks hunting them, the number of cow nose rays grew, and more rays ate more shellfish. Soon, shellfish became hard to find. Fishermen who caught shellfish began to suffer. There just weren't enough shellfish. Now the fishermen can't make enough money to live, and other creatures that eat shellfish may go hungry. That's a big problem. What should people do to solve problems like these? How can we help and not harm other living creatures? We need to think about what we do and make wise choices. Careful choices can help keep the balance in nature. Keeping the balance helps all the living things that share our planet. Going back to the top, we know our key point was food chains are important to all living things. What were some reasons that we found in our story to help us explain that? In the second paragraph, it says each link is a plant or animal that becomes a meal for the next. All living things in a food chain, even people, depend on another link for food. Sometimes we end up breaking the food chain, or at least changing it, which can cause problems. Look at the story down below. When the fishermen were catching the large sharks, what happened to the cow nose rays? The cow nose rays numbers grew, and then they ate more shellfish. So then what happened to the fishermen? And the fishermen began to suffer because there weren't enough shellfish for them to catch. So they couldn't make enough money to live. So those were all reasons why food chains are important to all living things. Now we're going to use this story to answer some questions on the next couple slides. We're going to do the first one together. So, identifying reasons in upsetting the balance. Circle the sentence that tells one of the author's key points. Was it food chains are important to all living things? Or picture it as a set of links. Food chains are important to all living things. And one reason the author gives to support the point.